I'm Matt Stewart, a Melbourne comedian.
Don't have a mullet because it's in fashion. I actually have a mullet because it's sun smart.
I'm a lover of all things beer and also adventure.
I used to mop floors at the supermarket, so this is right in my wheelhouse.
I've been set the task of recreating some of Australia's most epic historical journeys. This season, we're taking on the 3,000-kilometre trip up Central Australia, stopping into as many craft breweries
I might have to take the rest of the day off.
and iconic Aussie hotels as I can. And I'll be doing it all in this thing.
My inner ears are now, they're vibrated out of my head.
So far, we've covered some 1,700 kilometres. That's 1,000 miles. And finally, we've reached Alice Springs, which is just over halfway. That warrants a decent pit stop. So over the next few days, I'll be catching up with some notable locals,
Enjoy your beer.
listening to a music legend,
Is there any chance I could make a request?
Yeah, let's do it.
entering a local poetry competition,
I'm Googling haiku right now. What does it mean?
and getting out into the spectacular country.
A view so powerful, it has killed multiple fish.
You bloody ripper, let's bloody go.
He's out there, somewhere, crossing country, north to south, east to west, following rainbows for the liquid pot of gold. The man is amber obsessed. He's conquering fears, drinking boutique beers, just for you and me. He's a man on a mission, a liquid dietitian, a bearded brewery magician. He's the beer pioneer. He is the beer pioneer. He's the beer pioneer. He's the admiral of cheer. He's the admiral of cheer. He is the amber cavalier. He's the amber cavalier. And he's the malted musketeer. He's the malted musketeer. He is the bevy buccaneer. He's a bevy buccaneer. Oh yes, he is the beer pioneer. Oh yes, he is.
It's the heart of the outback. And Alice Springs' first inhabitants, the Arunda people, called the area Mabuntwa, meaning watering place. Indeed, the availability of water was crucial for John McDouall Stewart's successful expedition north to Darwin, and for the telegraph line which followed shortly thereafter. The remote outpost station was named Alice Springs after the wife of head telegraph honcho Charles Todd. Gee, there's a lot to take in here, but I figure we might as well start with something we haven't seen in 1,200 Ks, a brewery. It's a relatively new addition to the town, and I'm sitting down with the founder to find out how it all started.
Wow, what a spot for a brewery. And are you from Alice Springs all along, or you come up from somewhere else?
I've been here 17 years, so yeah, from inner suburbs of Melbourne originally, spent some time in the country and then Mornington Peninsula, and then decided it'd be a good idea to come to Alice Springs. So
It's a bit of a change up.
it is. I was only coming here for 6 months, so yeah, that didn't quite work out.
Is it that kind of city?
It is. It's a pretty common story. People say, often say they come here for 6 months and you end up with too much stuff to leave, so you sort of stay here, and it's a pretty easy life, I think. There's no traffic, you would have noticed. So
Yeah.
coming from Melbourne, that was a big thing for me. And generally the sun's out every day, and then if it isn't, it rains. It's a bit of a novelty. So yeah, it's a pretty cool place.
I mean, winter time feels like Melbourne summer.
Yeah, it's winter now. Like, what are we, 30 degrees or something? It was
Yeah.
30 something yesterday. So no, it's great.
Beautiful. What started you in the brewing game?
Well, I was too young to buy it, so started home brewing when I was 17, and I worked for CUB as a sales rep for a period of time as well, and I've always sort of been in the hospo game, so I think if you work for a big brewery long enough, you get delusions that it's an easy gig, and you go decide to do it for yourself.
Forget there's a huge machine behind it. Did much thought go into the name? Like, did you think about putting your name on the label?
No one had got there before us. So.
Look, I think you made the right call.
Yeah.
It's sort of like it's instantly iconic, right?
Yeah,
Everyone knows where you are. And why do you think it took so long for one to start up here?
Well, I didn't know that until I actually did it, and then I worked it out pretty quick. It wasn't a lot of, there's a lot of hard work went into it, and as I said, I thought I was going to stay in my full-time job and just come here and drink with my mates, and it's a full-time job, and At best, that's probably being polite. It's a massive undertaking, and as things get bigger, it's just more and more work and more knowledge that you need. So yeah.
Do you think the climate plays a part in making it harder? Like say in Melbourne or Adelaide even, you've got longer, cooler months.
I mean, the challenges here for us are freight. Everything comes on a truck or a train, and it's challenging to get staff out here as well.
I've noticed that everywhere we've gone along the way seems to have help wanted posted in the windows.
You could have got a few jobs on the way here, I imagine.
I know.
Yeah.
I only thought of that now. I could have applied. Maybe
Made some
I'm just
cash.
spending 6 months here, I swear.
Yeah. You'll end up with a wife and a dog, and you'll never leave. So.
In your time, even since you were in Melbourne, the Australian beer industry's changed so much. It's probably since you were working at CUB. What are the big changes you've noticed?
Yeah, I think when I worked at CUB, it was like craft beer was like 1% of the market, and growing up in Victoria, you drank Carlton Draft at the pub and VB everywhere else, and they were the two beers that you drank, and now
Melbourne or Crown on special occasions.
Yeah. On Christmas time, you drink a Crownie.
I love these labels. They're sort of quite simple but very distinctive. Did you come up with that?
No. A girl I went to school with, Jessie Jungawalla, she did these, and she does a lot of craft brewery branding for breweries all over Australia. So
Back in Melbourne.
Back in Vic.
People don't think about that, but primary school, it's all about networking.
Yeah, exactly. You don't even know what networking is. Yeah.
Coming from one of Australia's first craft breweries, Little Creatures, head brewer Jum has been on board since the early days and also found himself unexpectedly living in the Alice.
I was overseas and then not wanting to get a real job, and someone called me and said, "Hey, do you want to move to Alice Springs?" And I said, "Sure."
Do you count this as a real job though, unfortunately, isn't it?
It is actually
deceptively hard work.
It's deceptively hard work.
Which brew is most in demand around here?
Biggest is Centralian. It's the beer.
Yeah.
So just clean drinking ale. There's a lot of great nomads that come through, so they tend to be a bit more conservative in their drinking styles.
Well, there were 3 kinds of beers when they grew up, so.
Correct. And they probably all tasted pretty much the same. The beer culture here isn't that advanced. Probably similar to what it was in Asia when I was there. So you don't want to get too crazy, especially if you're going to have 30 kegs. You're probably not going to move some.
Right. The climate here, it's a lot hotter, so maybe people aren't as ready to go for a milky beer or a stout.
like people tend to prefer dry stuff. So even our stout is 4.2% and it's quite dry.
What are the ones I really need to be looking out for?
Specific ale because it's got a ridiculous name.
Do you get creative with the different styles that are chosen?
I love West Coast and that's what I do.
Yeah. So every couple of months, a local.
There's a lot of
come in and
Americans.
it'll be-
There's a lot of Americans at the base.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah,
right.
so-
There's an army base here.
The Pine Gap.
Pine Gap's here. I've heard of that from the Midnight Awesome.
So there's a lot of gardeners who work out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
that-
gardeners love a beer.
People don't talk about that, but a lot of the army is gardening.
Australia's Area 51.
It is. That's what I was
You're
thinking
on
as
it.
well. Honestly,
Good.
if we disappear after this airs, please. Thanks so much for chatting to us. I know
No
you do have
worries.
to get off to your gig, and yeah, maybe I can go try some of these beers.
Well, I haven't disappeared. I'm still here, and lucky for me, Kyle's already at the bar. First up, one of Jules's IPAs.
Kyle, so this is the spot.
This is the spot. It's a good spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we going to try today?
This one here is the Mosaics and Pains IPA, which is a West Coast IPA.
Jeez, that's a good pour.
That is a good pour.
Oh, look at that. Oh, I'd love a close-up of that if we
That's
could.
magic. The picture there, we call it Mosaics and Pains because Jewel Brewer's accident prone, and mate, he goes and plays mixed netball and has a fractured leg for 8 weeks.
He was
and,
telling us after it came out, he broke his hand, he broke his finger.
At mixed netball. I just want that on the record. So playing against my partner Sarah.
So yeah, Jun was saying that he just had a bit of an oversupply of hops, and that was the inspiration for this.
Yeah, look, and it's sort of like that West Coast IPA style, so it's got a fair bit of bitterness going on, and it's quite a strong flavour, especially after that last beer we had. It's a bit of a step up.
Have you found that the taste buds are changing in Alice?
Yeah, look, when we first started, the Centralian Ale, and it's still a big beer for us now, but it was mainly what we sold, and it was more because people would come in and they'd I'm a Great Northern drinker, what should I drink? I don't know, mate. But we made Central Ale for those drinkers, and you know it's got its place. Like it's great on a hot day, and we're seeing people shift into other beers now that's a bit more adventurous, a bit more hops going on, and different flavour profiles.
Being a Melbourne boy, do you have an AFL team?
Yeah, St Kilda. Yeah.
Are you really? The Saints, man.
Saints, man.
Frickin' hell! Cheers.
I don't know if we cheers that.
Brother in pain.
If you don't know about the Saints, they're one of the greatest teams of all time. If you do know about the Saints, don't tell anyone I'm lying. Next up, Ochre Ale.
Specialty malt called Red X. Just got a really nice deep red colour out of it. So just sort of reminded us of the dunes that you see when you come into Alice. It's sort of that red sandy colour. So
yeah. Oh wow. Yeah.
And it's a pretty nice beer. It's got a bit of nutty flavours going on, and it's very simple. Just it's just one malt and one hop cascade. So
yeah, that's great. Was that sort of accidental that you got the sort of the iconic Northern Territory colour?
It was like the first brew I did on our pilot kit by myself. So I was left to my own devices, and this is what came out. So it was a massive fluke. I got a good beer on my first go. So.
Oh man, it's not a camel.
When you're right, you're right.
Do you have are there many Australianisms out here that you didn't hear back in Melbourne?
I don't know, everyone talked funny when I first got here. They was always talking about this old mate. And I was like, who's old mate? Who's this? Who are we talking about? They go, just see old mate down the road. I'm like, old mate.
Everyone's
this old mate. Yeah. So it took me a while to work that out.
Lastly, a desert stout. That's desert, not dessert.
It is lower alcohol. It probably just goes back to that thing that's so hot here most of the year. So when we brewed a stout, we actually didn't think we'd sell much. I think when we first opened, we made one keg and we sold it in like a day. So we're like, maybe Alice Springs is ready for stout. I don't know. This probably lends itself to the weather a bit better and a bit more sessionable.
Yeah, sessionable stout. Underrated. That's great. I love it. Oh, yeah, that's my kind of stout.
We can't win an award for it because it doesn't fit into the stout categories because it's not stouty enough.
Wow.
It's one of those ones.
Uncategorisable.
Yes.
Uncategorised. Oh, I want to try that again.
Yeah.
Kyle, thanks so much for having us.
No worries.
I love this spot.
Yep. No, thanks for coming.
He is the beer pioneer.
While in town, I'm meeting with one of the most beloved Territorian characters, Ted Egan, a public servant who became Administrator of the Northern Territory from 2003 to 2007, but who gained recognition as a singer-songwriter in the 60s and 70s, penning some of Australia's most iconic folk songs. But there's way more to him than that.
Ted, thanks so much for chatting with us.
It's a pleasure.
It's my pleasure. It's an honour to be sharing a beer with you.
Here in beautiful Alice Springs.
Oh, lovely. What brought you here in the first place?
Well, I was born in Melbourne, and a mate of mine said, I'm going to Brazil. I said, I'll come with you. He said, right. He said, let's go to Darwin first. You can earn a big quid in Darwin.
Yeah.
And how we were going to get to Brazil, I'll never know. But, well, I still haven't got there.
Right.
He and I both stayed in Darwin. He died last year, and I'm still here at 90 enjoying the beer.
Ah, cheers.
Cheers. I still find Darwin a very exciting place. Alice is good, and we're very comfortable here, my wife and I, but I'm a Darwin boy.
Right.
Yeah.
Back in the 50s, Ted also organised and captained local Aussie rules club St Mary's in Darwin, the first club to actively encourage Indigenous players in defiance of the prevailing racist attitudes.
I was a very strong Catholic in those days, and the Bishop of Darwin called me in and he said, I've watched you play football. He said, I want you to start a new team called St Mary's to allow the Tiwi Aboriginal men who come to Darwin to work to get into the local competition. We started this team called St Mary's.
That's an iconic Australian footy team.
Top of the Wazza.
And you started it?
Yeah, I was first captain, first premiership captain.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been lucky throughout my life, Matt, and just one thing's led to another, and I have no great skills in life, but I'm a very good observer, and I get my pleasure and my income from writing books and songs principally about exciting and interesting people, usually to praise them up or perhaps slightly embellish,
Yeah.
but only once ever to put a person down a bit.
Right.
But
They probably deserved it.
certainly did, yeah.
So you say songwriting, book writing. You've also made documentaries.
Yep, I've done 31 albums of songs, written about 15 books, 2 TV series, This Land Australia and then the Great Outdoors. But I was a bit old for the Great Outdoors and I handed over to my dear mate Ernie Dingo and left Ernie with it. And
You started that show.
I was one of the first interviewers, yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How'd you meet Ernie?
Well, I knew him prior to that because of his singing skills and his basketball skills. I was connected to both. And we're forever great friends, yeah.
That's great. Sounds like you're connected to everything.
Before becoming a full-time songwriter, Ted worked for the Department of Aboriginal Affairs and was often out in the bush, on stockland, or near crocs as a patrol officer and reserve superintendent. He was a member of the first National Reconciliation Council.
And I was driving from from Wave Hill, from Gurindji country, into Katherine, the town of Katherine. I thought, time for a white bloke like you to go and leave it to I'd trained quite a few young Aboriginal people to take jobs that I was given because I was a white, privileged, well-educated white fella, and it was time for me to get it. So I just stopped the car, wrote a 3-line letter of resignation, posted it to Katherine, and decided at that point that I'd make a living singing songs, because I knew already that my songs were popular. And so I started, and for the next 30 years, I did the Ted Egan Outback show here in Alice Springs. Those were the days of coach tourism. And
Sounds like you were the Elvis of the Outback for a while.
Well, I was certainly the only nighttime entertainment in Alice Springs for 20 years.
Wow.
Tourists rather nicely in those days used to buy a Northern Territory flag because it's different, a Ted Egan cassette because he's different, and a Darwin stubby and leave town.
They're the big three.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
I think it's the best state flag by a mile in Australia.
Yeah, and I'm boasting, I know, but I was given the first one ever made.
If you were someone else, you'd write a song about you.
I'll leave it with you, Matt. I've got one in mind about you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, bloody hell.
The Northern Territory flag was designed by Robert Ingpen of Geelong. And Bob, he said, well, they've given me the first one as the designer. He said, but I'd like to give it to you. So Neris, my wife, and I, we presented it to Parliament House in Darwin.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a lovely flag, isn't it? The land is ochre. People are black and white, basically. And the flower on it is Sturt's Desert Rose, which is our national flower. And of course the Southern Cross, yeah.
You've had a bit to do in politics really over the years?
No, I'm quite apolitical.
Well, I mean, weren't you an administrator for a few years?
I was appointed, not elected, I was appointed the administrator, which is like the governor, for 4 years, and it was a beautiful 4 years at Government House Darwin with a staff of 19, anxious to make Neris, my wife, and I look good in every situation, and not a negative second in 4 years. It was. What I realised was that just so many people achieve. We tend to look for the bad things in life, but on a daily basis we were pinning on medals for bravery and daring and inventions and so on, and it was thrilling to be around so many people who were just achievers. Yeah.
So it sounds like it would have been stressful, but you just enjoyed it.
Yeah, my wife Neris, who has a great turn for phrase, she described it as a geriatric fairy tale. Yeah.
I love it. Have you come across many Australianisms in your time up in the Territory?
Our standard toast is not cheers, it's Humpty-Doo-Digger. Humpty-Doo-Digger. Yeah.
I love it. You want a golden guitar? You get a lifetime achievement?
I've got 3 gold guitars. John Williamson won one with my song, The Drover's Boy, and he said this should go to Ted. So the next day he gave it to me. 3 other people have won gold guitars singing my songs, where I didn't win singing the same songs. So I've got to accept the fact that I'm not Caruso. But
no, I think that's not you. I reckon that's the committee.
No, I think it's a fair system.
Okay.
And I've always been trained to accept the umpire's decision.
Yeah. Not me. I'm flipping tables. Next time you're snubbed.
Just relax, Matt.
Okay, thanks, Ted. Sorry, you're right.
Enjoy your beer. Humpty-doo-doo.
Humpty-doo, digger.
Probably my most famous song is The Bloody Good Drinkers, and it's a lot of people criticise me for it.
Oh, yeah.
They say, oh, you're promoting excessive drinking, and I say, no, I'm not. I'm promoting convivial drinking. If it's more than convivial drinking, I don't want to know about it.
Yep.
But it's about the brighter. Can I sing you a verse?
I would love it if you could sing us a verse.
Yeah, Tiger Brennan was the mayor of Darwin. You all know Tiger Brennan. He flew to Monterey one July. Got into a bottle of crinkly with his old mate Jack Mackay. A ring around up to the homestead, said your plane's on fire on the tarmac. But Tiger just sipped his drink and he said, that's where I left my cigar, Jack. Got some bloody good drinkers in the Northern Territory. From Darwin down to Alice Springs, we're always on a spree. Out in the Barclay Tableland and across to VRD. We've got some bloody good drinkers in the Northern Territory. Humpty-doo, digger.
That's so great.
Pioneer. He is the beer pioneer.
We're still on the trail of John McDouall Stewart and his famed expedition up the continent. So you know what that means. It's monument time. Tell you what, they bloody love giving this guy a monument.
So we're in Alice and we're at yet another John McDouall Stewart statue. This one is probably the most epic one we've seen so far. And unbelievably, it was made by Ted Egan's son, Mark Egan. So yeah, it's amazing how many things connect through to each other in the Northern Territory. What an outfit. It's funny how much fashion has changed over the years. Obviously you couldn't get away with that kind of get up these days. You'd look relatively foolish, but I mean, I wish you could, because I think he looks pretty sharp. Oi, Egans, share a bit of this talent around for the rest of us.
Stewart reached this area on his 4th expedition in 1860. By that time, scurvy had set in and Stewart's right eye was failing. But the man didn't give up, and the ranges and Larapinta River provided much needed relief. My eyes, on the other hand, are still going relatively strong, and I'm keeping the scurvy at bay. So it's time to forge on and explore some of the natural country that old mate would have encountered.
We're having a little explore today. We're going to see a gorge, we're going to see a canyon, we're going to see a big hole, which are, I think, 3 different words for nothing, but it's what surrounds that nothing that really makes these places worth visiting. First time I've broken out the shorts for the shorts and thongs on the trip so far. Funny to think we're in the middle of winter. People say, geez, you're glowing, Matt. And I'll say, yeah, I've been to the Alice. You got that Alice glow, they'll say. And I say, you're goddamn right.
The West MacDonnell Ranges National Park stretches for 160 k's west of Alice. Known as Chiricha by the Arunda, the explorers led by John McDouall Stewart named the ranges after Sir Richard MacDonald, the Governor of South Australia at the time. Sounds like a bit of McBias if you're asking me. Stewart reached them on his 4th attempt in 1860. By this point he had covered thousands of kilometres all up. The man was obsessed, leaving for the next attempt shortly after his return from the one before. Luckily, I'm just doing it once, one way up. And I get to check out the landscape he faced, albeit in a much more leisurely fashion. It's a go-to area for swimming holes and hikes. The Larapinta Trail stretches through the park and offers one of the best multi-day treks in Australia. Me, I just want to drop in, see the sights, and get out. Ah yes, the Big Hole. Thousands of years of massive floods have carved out this water hole in the range, unlocking some amazing geology. The Aboriginal name for Ellery Big Hole is Utapata. The water made it a special meeting place for the Arunda people on the fish and honey ant dreaming trails. Most of these water holes are extremely cold, even in summer. The temperature can drop so low that even the fish can't bear it.
Dead fish. Wow, so we've had a quick stop off. This place is majestic. Looking forward to having a little dip here. Look at that view. That view's so powerful. It has killed multiple fish. These fish saw the view, they had a look, and they just couldn't live anymore.
Fish die-offs are a natural phenomenon and mainly occur when there is not enough oxygen dissolved in the water for the fish to take in through their gills. On particularly cold nights, the surface water sinks to the bottom and pushes up water with less available oxygen.
I got my climbing shoes on.
Well, I was going to have a swim, but there are a lot of dead fish around the perimeter of the watering hole, so that kind of hurt my confidence a bit. If the fish can't swim in there, then I don't know what chance I have. So instead, I've just found a nice viewpoint up here and I'm just taking it all in. A really magnificent spot. Lovely.
Along with the Big Hole, I've heard of another spot to try for a swim further west. I'm checking out Ormiston Gorge, the perfect spot if you're craving the beach in the middle of the outback. Still a few dead fish around, but at least there are no crocs to worry about. So there's really no excuse not to go in. Plus my producer is really pressuring me to, so I better keep him happy. It's in the contract.
Absolutely stunning. It's one of those moments where you sort of feel like you're sitting in a painting. And the painter had a bit of talent, you know what I mean? Not one of them sort of slapdash numbers. This feels like we're in a painting that was done by a master. Finally realising why this is called a gorge, because it is gorgeous. I'm looking forward to it. I need this. This is going to wake me right up because I am not used to getting up at 9 a.m. like today. This schedule, it's ridiculous. The demands they've been making of me. Oh, you got to be up at 9. Oh, we're leaving at 10. Fucking hell.
Get the breaststroke going there. I actually choose to move that slowly while swimming. Just here to enjoy the serenity, so. Back on the road, we're heading to Kings Canyon, apparently just under 3 hours away. Somehow, we're still trusting the ETAs on Google Maps. Fool me once, shame on you, Google. Fool me twice, well, we've really stuffed it, to be honest. Unfortunately, it's back to the corrugated roads, and once again, it's a race against the clock to make dinner at our destination.
Yeah, it was fun to find out that we could have taken a sealed road the whole way here. You heard that yet? Yeah, there was another way here, all sealed roads. But it would have meant we wouldn't have got to see the gorge. That was the money shot. Swimming with the dead fishes. It's cool to be here. What a weird place in the middle of nowhere. If that's where we are. I was watching Netflix, so I didn't really see where we were going.
Luckily, the kitchen was still open and the entertainment still cranking.
So I've been on the road all day from Alice. Didn't make the sunset here, unfortunately, but did work up a big appetite and a bit of a thirst. So I've got a shroom burger here at the Kings Canyon Bar and Grill and an Alice Springs Pale. So looking forward to getting stuck into this and having a good night's sleep before we've got a few sights to see in the morning. Cheers.
Next time, it's up early for a brisk stroll through the park.
Still not the top. Is this still not the top? Oh my God.
Then back into town to relax. Till next time, Humpty-doo, digger.